Hi, welcome back to our Honors Geometry series. In this video, we're going to look at finding the coordinates of the missing parts in an equilateral triangle. So there are a few different ways that we can set up an equilateral triangle. I can set it up like this with the top vertex on the y-axis, where maybe my base length is let's call it 4a. Let's say it's 4a. Well, if it's 4a, then this would be 2a and 2a. And this would be 4a, and this would be 4a if it's equilateral. Which means that my coordinates would be negative 2a, 0, 2a, 0, and the temptation is to put 0, 2a, but it's not true. We can't do that. What I need to do is I need to figure out what is the height of this triangle. So what I can do is I can split this up into a right triangle because I don't know the height of the triangle, but I do know the other two sides. I've got 2a and 4a. So let me just rewrite this problem where I've got 4a, 2a, and x. And I can use my Pythagorean theorem of x squared plus 2a squared equals 4a squared. So out of x squared equals, or x squared I guess, plus 4a squared equals 16a squared. So x squared would be 12a squared or x would be the square root of 12a squared, which you could do is 2a root 3. Okay, let's do something a little bit simpler then. What if it were just a? What would the height be then? Well, if the height were just a, or I'm sorry, if the length here were just a, then it would be at negative a0, positive a0, but this whole length would be 2a. So this would be 2a, and this would be 2a. So then I would have a and 2a, and I still need to find that height. So how do I find that? Well, it would be x squared plus a squared equals 2a squared. Or x squared plus a squared equals 4a squared. Or x squared equals, if I subtract 1a, 3a squared. So then the final question is, when I square root, what do I do with the value of x? What do I do with the fact that I know that this is the square root of 3a squared, or a root 3? Well, if that's the height, if this here is the height, then it's the height inside my triangle as well. So I went 0 units left and right, but to get to my top vertex, I went up a root 3 units. Okay, let's try another one. What if I did an equilateral triangle, and we're going to do the same kind of idea. What if I did one here? I'm going to stick with that idea of this is, let's say I went 2A units out. And I've got a vertex at the origin. What in the world would be my top vertex? Well, we'll take the same approach of, I need to figure out what the height is. I also need to figure out what the x coordinate is. Okay, well this distance here is 2A all the way across. But since this is equilateral, that is a perpendicular bisector. It cuts my segment down here into two equal parts. So each part, if they add up to 2A, each part would be just 1A. 1A plus 1A gets you 2A. But how far up did I go? Well, for that, we're going to have to consult our diagram over here. Here's my triangle, and I want to find the height. I know that this part on the bottom is A, right? On the bottom is A. I know the part on the side is X. And if this is equilateral, if this is truly equilateral, then the bottom is 2A, the right is 2A, and the left is 2A. So all sides are congruent. And that's where I get the 2A from. Okay. And we'll take the same exact approach again of our Pythagorean theorem. X squared plus A squared equals the quantity 2A squared. Or x squared plus a squared equals 4a squared. And from there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the a squareds together, and to undo the square, I'll square root. So x would be a root 3 again. So my height would be a root 3, or the square root of 3a squared. Either way is fine with me, since we haven't done trigonometry yet. So that height is a root 3, which is the y component. The y is the height. So my coordinates should be a, comma, a root 3. Okay, and the last one I want to talk about is, what do I do if I have an equilateral triangle, but it's positioned in this fashion? So what if I went A units up and A units down? Well, if I went A units up here, this is A, and I went A more units, how many units total would that side length be? It should be 2A, which means that this is 2A and this is 2A. And we have the same exact process, right? So I could go through the Pythagorean theorem one more time, where I've got A and 2A and X up on the top. And this would be a root 3. So my vertex here, I went in the x direction, a root 3 units, and in the y direction, I went 0 units. So there's just a quick video on equilateral triangle coordinates. Check out the video on how to identify other coordinates in just a minute, and I will see you soon.